pressed his back against the rough bark of a massive tree and tried to catch his breath. His legs burned from 3 days of walking through the alien forest. The purple leaves above him blocked most of the fatting light, and the air smelled sweet like honey mixed with something he could not name. His ship was broken, scattered across a valley 2 days behind him. The emergency beacon was dead. No one was coming to save him. He looked at his small scanner. The device showed a landing zone 50 kilometers ahead, but night was coming fast. The temperature was already dropping. On this planet, night meant cold that could kill a human, needed shelter and warmth. The clearing ahead looked perfect. Ancient trees surrounded it in a circle, their trunks wider than his crashed ship. The ground was covered in soft moss that glowed faintly blue in the twilight, gathered dry branches and dead wood from the forest floor. His grandfather had taught him survival skills when he was young. Fire was the first lesson. He arranged the wood carefully and used a piece of hard bark and a stick to create friction. His hands worked steadily, back and forth, until a small curl of smoke appeared. He blew gently on the ember, adding dry moss and thin twigs. The fire caught. Orange flames danced upward, crackling and popping. The warmth felt wonderful against his cold hands. Sat back and watched the fire grow. He did not know he had made a terrible mistake. He did not know that eyes were watching him from the darkness between the trees. The attack came without warning. Figures dropped from the branches above and emerged from the shadows, jumped to his feet, but spears surrounded him before he could run. He counted 12 warriors, all women, all tall and athletic. Their skin shimmered blue and violet in the firelight, changing colors like oil on water. They wore armor made from woven plants and carried elegant spears that hummed with a soft energy. The leader stepped forward. She was taller than the others, with sharp features and eyes that glowed amber in the darkness. Her long hair was braided with what looked like living vines. She stared then at his campfire, and her face showed something between horror and rage. "Human," she said, speaking in perfect galactic standard. Her voice was beautiful but cold. "You have entered sacred ground. Worse, you have brought the burning death to the heart forest." Raised his hand slowly, showing he had no weapons. "I don't understand, it's just a campfire. I needed warmth." The warrior woman stepped closer to the fire but stopped several feet away. The flames reflected in her eyes. "Just a fire," she repeated. "You speak as if this is a simple thing. Do you know what you have done?" "I crashed here 3 days ago," said carefully. "My ship is destroyed. I'm trying to reach the landing zone to the north. I just need to rest for the night." Another warrior, younger with softer features, moved to the leader's side. She stared at the fire with wide eyes, not with fear but with fascination. She whispered to the leader, "Look how he stands so close to it. The flames do not harm him." The leader grabbed his arm roughly. Her hand was cold. "Bind him," she ordered. 2 warriors stepped forward with ropes made from twisted vines. "Wait," protested. "What did I do wrong? It's just a fire for warmth and cooking." "Fire," said, and the word sounded like a curse in her mouth. The ancient texts speak of the burning death, a force that consumes all living things, a force that turns forests to ash and brings the end of worlds. For 10,000 years, the Mora people have lived in these forests without such destruction, and now you bring it here to the heart forest itself. The warriors tied his hands behind his back. He watched his campfire burning, suddenly understanding. These people, whoever they were, had never seen fire before. They had never discovered it or used it. To them, his simple campfire was a weapon of mass destruction. "I can put it out," offered. "I can stop the fire right now." "Too late," said. "You have already violated the sacred laws. You will come with us to face the council. They will decide your fate." The young warrior who had spoken earlier approached the fire carefully. She extended one hand toward it, feeling the warmth from a safe distance. "Sister," she said it gives heat without touching. How is this possible?" "Step back," commanded. "Do not let the burning death tempt you." obeyed but kept glancing back at the flames as the warriors extinguished the fire with dirt and water. They stomped on every ember until nothing remained but smoke and wet ashes. The journey through the forest took over an hour, walked in the center of the group with his hands bound. The warriors moved silently through the darkness, their bioluminescent weapons providing the only light. The forest around them glowed with soft colors, blues and greens and purples. Plants emitted their own light. Strange insects pulsed with rhythm. Everything was alive with color, but there was no fire anywhere. They arrived at a village that took breath away. The structures were not built but grown, living trees shaped into dwellings and connected by bridges that glowed with natural light. Hundreds of Mora people lived here, all women as far as could see. They stopped their activities to stare at the prisoner. Led him to the center of the village where a platform stood beneath the largest tree had ever seen. An older woman waited there, dressed in robes decorated with patterns that shifted and moved. Her hair was silver, and her eyes were wise. "Mother," said, bowing her head, "I bring a human who has violated our most sacred law. He brought the burning death to the Heart Forest." The older woman studied with an expression he could not read. "I am High Matriarch of the Mora people. What is your name, human?" He answered, "I crashed here by accident. I meant no harm or disrespect." "Ignorance does not erase violation," said. "The prophecy is clear. When the burning death comes to the Heart Forest, two paths open before us. Either the world ends in flames or a new age begins. We have always believed the first path was our destiny." "I don't want to destroy anything," said. "Fire is not a weapon, it's a tool. Humans have used it for thousands of years." Murmurs spread through the gathered crowd. Stepped forward. "He admits his people are creatures of the burning death. Mother, we must execute him at dawn before he brings more destruction." The young warrior spoke up, but he controlled it. The flames obeyed him. He made them appear and could make them disappear. Silence snapped at her. Raised her hand and everyone went quiet. "The council will meet tonight. We will decide this human's fate by morning light. Take him to the holding chamber." The warriors led away to a cell made from living vines that had been grown into the shape of a small room. Through the gaps, he could see the village and its people. They lived without fire, without metal, without any technology he recognized. Yet their civilization seemed advanced, just completely different from anything human. As sat in his cell, approached carrying a bowl of water. She pushed it through the vines to him. "Thank you," he said. She lingered, studying him with curious eyes. "This fire," she said quietly, "you truly are not afraid of it?" "No," answered. "Fire kept my ancestors alive through ice ages. It cooked our food and kept away predators. It was humanity's first great discovery." Looked troubled. "The prophecy says the burning death will either destroy us or transform us. I wonder which one you bring." Before could answer, she disappeared into the glowing darkness of the village, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the knowledge that sunrise might bring his execution. Morning came too quickly. Had barely slept in his vine cell, watching the village through the night. The Mora people never used torches or lamps. Instead, they harvested glowing plants and placed them in clear containers. Everything they used came from living things. Their tools were grown, not built. Their clothes were woven from plants that still lived and changed colors with their moods. 3 warriors came to collect him at dawn. Led them, her face showing no emotion. They brought to the central platform where waited with a council of elder women. The entire village had gathered to watch. Spoke in a clear voice that carried across the crowd. "Of the human people, you have brought the burning death to our sacred forest. Our laws demand execution for such a crime. However, the prophecy speaks of 2 possible futures. The council has decided you will face the trial of truth." "What does that mean?" asked. 3 challenges," an elder woman explained. "If you survive all 3, we will know you bring transformation, not destruction. If you fail, you will die, and the prophecy will be fulfilled through your death. Step forward. The first challenge begins tonight. You will spend the darkness hours in the cold hollow, a cave system where temperatures fall below freezing. No Mora can survive there without special preparation. We will see if your burning death can save you, or if you are simply a fool with a dangerous toy. The crowd murmured with approval, understood the test immediately. They wanted to see if he could use fire to survive. They were giving him a chance to prove fire was useful, not just destructive. "I accept," Sid appeared at his side, assigned to guard him until the trial began. She walked with him through the village and noticed how the Mora people lived. They ate raw fruits and vegetables, never cooked. They slept in warm communal spaces heated by biothermal plants. Their weapons and tools were organic, grown in special gardens. "Can I ask you something?" said Tu. She nodded. "In 10,000 years, your people never discovered fire by accident. Lightning never struck a tree. You never saw natural flames. Thought about this. Lightning happens rarely here. When it does strike, the forest is too moist to burn for long. Our ancestors saw small fires and feared them. They built our civilization to avoid such dangers. We became experts in biotechnology instead. And you never wondered about heat, about transforming materials. We use chemical reactions for heat. We grow crystals that can cut harder than any stone. We have never needed your fire." Paused. "Until now." "What do you mean?" "The forest is dying. A sickness spreads through the roots. Our bioremedies are not working. The elders do not speak of this openly, but I have seen it. If we cannot stop it, the heart forest will die and our people with it." Before could respond appeared. "Enough talking, it is time for the trial." The cold hollow was exactly as promised. The cave entrance breathed freezing air that made shiver even in the warmth of day. The Mora warriors led him inside, down tunnels that grew colder with each step. Finally, they reached a large chamber deep underground. "You will stay here until sunrise," said. "We will guard the entrance. If you try to leave before dawn, you fail the trial." "I understand." The warriors left, taking their glowing weapons with them. Darkness and cold surrounded. He could see nothing, but his hands felt the cave walls. He moved carefully, exploring his prison. He found what he needed by touch. Dry moss grew on some rocks. Pieces of dead fungus littered the floor. There were even some dry sticks, probably washed in during storms. Gathered these materials, creating a pile in the center of the chamber. Making fire in total darkness was difficult, but his hands knew the movements. He used 2 stones to create sparks, catching them in the dry moss. It took many attempts. His fingers grew numb from cold, but finally a small flame appeared. The fire grew, illuminating the cave with orange light. Warmth spread through the chamber. Fed the fire carefully, never letting it get too large or too small. He sat close to it, feeling life return to his cold body. Outside the cave, watched the glow flickering from deep within. The other warriors saw it too. They whispered among themselves, frightened and amazed. "He actually did it," one warrior said. "He summoned the burning death in the cold hollow." Said nothing, but her mind was troubled. The human sat in a place that should kill him, surrounded by flames, completely comfortable. How was this possible? Hours passed. Midnight came and went, arrived to take her turn at guard duty. She saw the orange glow from the cave and could not resist moving closer. She walked down the tunnel, toward the light and warmth. Heard footsteps and turned to see emerging from the darkness. She stopped at the edge of his firelight, staring at the flames with wide eyes. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "I did not expect that." "Come closer," invited. "It won't hurt you if you're careful." Took a small step forward, then another. The warmth touched her face and her expression changed. She had never felt anything like this. The heat from their biothermal plants was gentle, ambient. This was different. This was intense, direct, powerful. "How does it feel?" asked. Like sunlight, said, but concentrated like life itself. She extended her hands toward the fire, not touching but feeling. Tears formed in her eyes. We have lived without this for so long. We never knew what we were missing. She sat down across from the fire between them. For hours they talked, explained how humans used fire to cook food, making it easier to digest and safer to eat. He explained how fire allowed metalworking, which led to tools, which led to advanced technology. He explained how fire kept humans warm in the coldest places on Earth. Told him about Mora civilization. They had evolved differently, developing biotechnology to incredible heights. They could grow living computers, create medicine from modified plants, and even store memories in special trees. But they had never discovered combustion. The prophecy, said as dawn approached. It says the burning death brings either ending or beginning. I think I understand now. Fire is not the death. Fear of fire is the death. Refusing to learn, refusing to change, that is what will kill us. What about the sickness in the forest? Asked. Can fire help with that? Looks troubled. I do not know, but I want to find out. When sunrise came, emerged from the cold hollow alive and well. The gathered crowd fell silent, stood rigid, not believing what she saw. Walked beside him. She turned to face the crowd and spoke loudly. He has survived the cold hollow with the sacred flame. The prophecy speaks of two paths. Perhaps we have chosen the wrong one to fear. Angry shouts erupted. Many warriors demanded some immediate execution. But others, seeing transformed face and the human survival, began to doubt their ancient fears. Raised her hands for silence. The trial continues. There are two more challenges, but this first one has taught us something important. She looked at. It has taught us that our certainty might not be as certain as we believed. His jaw tightened. She looked at with a mixture of anger and confusion. Her entire life had been built on protecting her people from threats. Now the greatest threat was proving to be their potential salvation. Nothing made sense anymore. The council meeting lasted 3 hours. Could hear the raised voices from his cell. Wanted him executed immediately, trial or no trial. Argued that he should be given a chance to prove himself. Other voices joined in, some afraid, some curious, all confused. Finally emerged with a decision. She said through the vine walls, "We offer you a deal. You have 48 hours to prove that fire can help us, not harm us. If you succeed, you live. If you fail, or if you cause any damage to our forest, you die immediately." "What do you want me to prove?" asked. "That is for you to decide. Show us why we should trust the burning death." They released him but assigned 2 guards, and would watch him constantly, one who hated fire and one who was learning to understand it. The 3 of them made an unlikely team. "I need to see the sickness in the forest," said. "Mentioned it yesterday. Show me." Glared at, "You spoke of this to the outsider." "He deserves to know what threatens us," replied. They walked for 2 hours through the heart forest. The healthy sections were beautiful beyond words. Trees reached hundreds of feet into the air. Plants glowed with bioluminescence. Strange animals moved through the branches, their bodies covered in colorful patterns. But gradually the forest changed. The colors faded. Trees stood dead or dying. The ground was covered in gray fungus that spread like a web. "This is the blight," explained, her voice heavy with sadness. "It appeared 6 months ago. It spreads through the root systems underground. Our best bioengineers have tried everything. The fungus adapts to every remedy we create. We lose more forest every day." Knelt and examined the infected soil. He recognized the problem immediately. "This is a spore-based infection. Probably came from off-world, maybe on a meteor. Your biotechnology keeps trying to fight it, but organic solutions won't work fast enough. The fungus evolves too quickly." "Then we are doomed," said flatly. "No," said. "There is another way, but you won't like it." Leaned forward. "Tell us." "Controlled burning. We create fires in the infected areas, destroying the fungus completely. Then we dig fire breaks around the healthy sections to stop the blight from spreading. Drew her spear instantly, pointing it at its throat. You want us to burn our own forest. This is exactly what we feared. You bring destruction disguised as help. Listen to me, said calmly, not moving away from the spear. Fire destroys, yes, but it also cleanses. The fungus cannot survive high heat. After the burn, the soil is enriched with nutrients from the ash. New growth comes faster and stronger. We use fire as medicine, not as a weapon. It is insanity, said. It is science, countered. Look around you. Your forest is dying. Your biosolutions are failing. How long before the blight reaches your village? How long before it kills the sacred grove that told me about? Lowered her spear, but her face remained hard. Even if what you say is true, the council will never approve. To suggest burning the heart forest is like suggesting we kill ourselves. Then let me demonstrate, said. Give me a small section of infected forest, away from anything valuable. Let me show you that controlled fire works. And looked at each other. Finally spoke. There is a clearing to the east. The blight destroyed it completely. Nothing lives there anymore. If fire can damage such a place, we have lost nothing. And if it works, challenged. Then we have hope, answered. They walked to the dead clearing. It was heartbreaking to see. Once mighty trees stood as gray skeletons. The ground was covered in thick fungus that released spores into the air. Nothing moved. Nothing lived. Studied the area carefully. He explained his plan to the two warriors. They would dig a fire break around the clearing, creating a barrier the flames could not cross. Then he would set controlled fires in a pattern that would burn the infection completely but safely. This will take hours of preparation, said, but if we do it right, it will work. Looked skeptical but agreed to try. She sent back to the village to get tools and more warriors. Soon, a dozen Mora women arrived, all curious and frightened about what would happen. They worked through the afternoon, directed them, showing how to clear ground and create proper fire breaks. The Mora warriors were strong and skilled. They followed his instructions precisely, though many looked terrified of what they were preparing. As sunset approached, everything was ready. The fire break surrounded the clearing completely, had gathered fuel in specific patterns to create a controlled burn. When I light this fire, warned, it will look terrible. The flames will be high, the smoke will be thick, but trust the preparation we have done. The fire will stay inside the break. Stood with her spear ready. If even one flame crosses that line, I will kill you myself. Fair enough, said. He lit the first fire. It caught quickly, spreading through the dead vegetation. Within minutes, flames covered the entire clearing. They roared upward, orange and red and yellow, consuming everything. The Mora warriors backed away in horror. Some wanted to run, kept them in place by sheer force of will. The heat was intense even from a distance. Smoke poured into the sky. For 30 minutes, the world seemed to be ending. Watched carefully, seeing how he monitored the flames, how he remained calm while her people panicked. Then, as had promised, the fire began to die. The fuel was consumed. The flames shrank. Within an hour, only embers remained, glowing red in the twilight. Smoke drifted away on the wind. The clearing was black with ash, but the fire break had held. Not a single flame had escaped. Approached slowly, staring at the destruction. You have proven you can burn things. How does this help us? Walked into the burned area, kicking at the ash. Give it 3 days. Watch what happens. But before they could leave, a young warrior came running through the forest. Her name was Sara, a scout who monitored the forest boundaries. She was breathing hard, her face twisted with fear. High Matriarch sent me, she gasped. The blight has reached the sacred grove. It is spreading fast. The elders say we have maybe 2 days before the heart tree itself becomes infected. Silence fell over the group. The sacred grove was the most important place in all Mora culture. Ancient trees there held the memories and history of their entire civilization. If those trees died, 10,000 years of knowledge died with them. His face went pale. No, not the sacred grove. Turned to, her eyes desperate. Can your fire save it? Can you burn away the infection without destroying the memory trees? His mind raced. The sacred grove would be far more complex than this simple clearing. The trees would be irreplaceable. One mistake and he would destroy everything the Mora held sacred. But if he did nothing, the blight would destroy it anyway. I can try, he said, but I will need help. I will need warriors who trust me, and I will need time to plan carefully. This is not simple anymore. Looked at him with an expression he had never seen before. It was not hatred or suspicion. It was desperate hope struggling against a lifetime of fear. Mother will never agree to let you use fire in the sacred grove, said. Then we convince her, said firmly. What choice do we have? Watch our entire history die, or trust the human who has done nothing but try to help us? Closed her eyes, making a decision that went against everything she believed. We return to the village, we speak to the council, and we pray that the burning death truly is our salvation, not our doom. The council meeting was the most difficult moment of long life. Half the elders demanded its execution. The other half, swayed by passionate arguments and the desperate situation, were willing to consider his plan. The debate raged for hours while the blight spread closer to the heart tree. Finally made her decision. We have no time left for fear. The human will attempt to save the sacred grove. You will lead the warriors who assist him. You will help coordinate. If this fails, we accept our doom, but at least we will have tried everything. One elder stood up, her face dark with anger. This is blasphemy. We invite the burning death into our holiest place. The burning death is already there, replied coldly. It is called the blight and it shows no mercy. Perhaps it is time we fought death with life, even if that life comes in the form of flames. They left immediately, and 20 warriors raced through the night toward the sacred grove. Every warrior carried tools and supplies, carried the weight of an entire civilization's hopes on his shoulders. The sacred grove appeared before them like something from a dream. The trees here were ancient beyond measure, each 100s of feet tall with trunks wider than houses. Their bark glowed with soft patterns that moved and shifted. These were no ordinary trees. They were living libraries, storing memories and knowledge through bioorganic processes that humans had never developed. But the beauty was being destroyed. Gray fungus crept across the ground, climbing up the roots of the outer trees. Several ancient giants were already dead, their glow faded, their memories lost forever. The infection was spreading toward the center where the heart tree stood, the oldest and most sacred tree of all. Assessed the situation quickly. We have maybe 12 hours before the infection reaches the heart tree. We need to create fire breaks around the healthy trees and burn the infected zones. It will be delicate work. One wrong move and we lose everything. The warriors spread out following his instructions. They dug trenches, cleared ground, and prepared fire lines. Worked as hard as anyone, though her face showed the internal struggle she faced. She was helping to bring fire to the sacred grove. Every part of her training screamed that this was wrong. As they worked, noticed something. The trees are too close together here. Fire will jump between them no matter how careful we are. Examine the problem. She was right. The grove was too dense for standard fire break techniques. They needed another approach. We use water, he decided. Do you have water sources nearby? A stream runs through the east side, said. Then we create moisture barriers. Soak the healthy trees completely. The water will protect them while we burn the infected areas. They worked frantically, forming bucket chains from the stream. Warriors climbed the trees, drenching every branch and leaf. Others continued digging fire breaks. Moved between groups, adjusting plans, solving problems, always aware that time was running out. The sun rose as they finished preparations. The sacred grove looked like a battlefield, carved with trenches and soaked with water. The infected sections were identified and ready for burning. Had marked the pattern carefully, designing the fires to burn inward, away from healthy trees. "This is it," he said to Anne. "Once I start the fires, there is no stopping. Trust the preparation." Gripped her spear so tightly her knuckles turned white. "If this goes wrong, there will not be enough of you left for us to execute properly." "Fair enough," said. He began lighting the fires. Small flames appeared at multiple points around the grove, following his planned pattern. They grew quickly, feeding on the dead vegetation and the fungus itself. Soon, walls of fire surrounded the healthy sections, burning inward toward the infected heart of the grove. The Mora warriors watched in absolute terror. Flames leaped 20 feet into the air. Smoke filled the grove. The heat was incredible. Everything about this felt wrong to them, every instinct screaming danger. Only iron discipline kept them from fleeing. But the fires were behaving as had planned. They burned the infected areas but stopped at the fire breaks and moisture barriers. The healthy trees, drenched with water, remained untouched. The strategy was working. Then the wind changed. A sudden gust blew through the grove, pushing flames toward the north section where several healthy trees stood. The moisture barrier there was thinner, less protected. The fire jumped a narrow gap and caught on a lower branch. "No!" screamed. The branch led directly to an ancient memory tree. If the fire reached the main trunk, 10 centuries of knowledge would burn. Did not hesitate. He pulled on his emergency suit, the fireproof material from his crashed ship that he had been saving. He ran toward the flames, ignoring shout behind him. The heat was overwhelming even through the suit. Reached the burning branch and began hacking at it with a tool, trying to cut it away from the tree before the fire spread. Sparks flew. Smoke choked him. His hands blistered inside the suit's gloves. Behind him made a decision. She saw what was trying to do. She saw him willing to die to save their heritage. And she finally understood. "Warriors with me," she commanded. "Help him." The Mora warriors rushed forward, fear forgotten. They grabbed tools and began digging a deeper break around the threatened tree. They threw water on the approaching flames. They worked alongside, human and alien united against the fire. Together they cut the burning branch free. It fell to the ground, away from the tree. Warriors stomped on it, beating out the flames. The ancient tree was saved. But the crisis was not over. The fires still burned throughout the grove. For 3 more hours they fought to keep everything controlled, directed the warriors, showing them how to manage the flames, how to use wind direction, how to create. The Mora learned quickly, their fear transforming into understanding. Finally, as afternoon approached, the last flames died. The infected sections were reduced to ash. The healthy trees stood intact, their memories preserved. The fire breaks had held. The sacred grove was but alive. Collapsed, exhausted, and burned. His suit was melted in places. His hands were badly injured, but he was smiling. Knelt beside him. She looked at the saved grove, then at the human who had risked everything for people who wanted him dead just days ago. "You saved us," she said quietly. "I wanted to kill you. I was certain you would destroy us. Instead, you have given us a future." Joined them, tears running down her face. "Look," she said, pointing to the burned areas. "Already new growth." It was true. Green shoots were pushing up through the ash, growing at an impossible rate. The fire had not only saved the grove, it had enriched it, allowing new life to flourish. Arrived with more warriors and council members. They walked through the sacred grove in silence, seeing the destruction and the salvation side by side. "The prophecy is fulfilled," said. "The burning death came to the heart forest, and a new age has begun." 3 weeks passed like a dream. Recovered from his burns in a healing chamber where Mora biomedicine worked wonders on his damaged skin. The healers were fascinated by human physiology and asked endless questions. In return, taught them about thermal therapy and how controlled heat could speed certain types of healing. The village had changed dramatically. Small, carefully managed fires now burned in designated areas throughout the settlement. The Mora had created a new role called Flame Keepers, warriors trained to tend and control fire safely. Was the first, and she took her responsibility seriously, teaching others everything had taught her. The most remarkable change was in daily life. Cooking fires appeared, and the Mora discovered the joy of cooked food. Vegetables that were bitter when raw became sweet and soft. Tough roots became tender and delicious. The entire culture of Mora cuisine was being reinvented overnight. A simple forge had been built at the edge of the village, showed them how to heat rocks until certain minerals melted and could be shaped. The first metal tools the Mora ever created were crude, but they worked far better than stone for certain tasks. Young warriors practiced forging, amazed at this new technology. But fire was not replacing Mora culture. It was adding to it. The bioluminescent plants still lit their homes. Their grown buildings still housed them. Their organic technology remained the foundation of their society. Fire had simply opened new possibilities they never knew existed. Walked through the village one morning, watching the changes. Children gathered around small fires, supervised by flame keepers, learning fire safety. Warriors practiced metalworking. Elders studied new cooking techniques. Everyone wanted to understand this force that had almost destroyed them but instead had saved them. Approached him and noticed she had changed too. Her rigid warrior stance had softened. Her eyes no longer held suspicion when she looked at him. "Mother wants to see you," she said. "Something important." They walked together to his dwelling. The High Matriarch sat with several council members, including a young male Mora named his brother who had been scouting the forest. Began, "Your rescue ship sent a signal yesterday. They will arrive in 2 days to retrieve you." Nodded slowly. He had expected this. His people would not abandon him. "This presents a question," continued. "You have transformed our world. You have given us tools we never imagined, but these are just the beginning. We have so much more to learn. Will you stay with us? Not forever, but long enough to ensure fire remains a tool and never becomes a weapon." Looked around the room. These were people who had wanted him dead just weeks ago. Now they asked him to remain and guide them. It was a profound responsibility. "I can stay for 6 months," he said. "That should be enough time to establish proper safety protocols and training programs. But after that, I need to return to my people. I have a life there, a family." "6 months is generous," said. "We accept. In recognition of your service, the Council wishes to formally adopt you into the Mora people. You will carry the title Flamebringer, and you will be considered one of us." The ceremony happened that evening. The entire village gathered as performed the ancient adoption ritual. She painted symbols on skin using bioluminescent dye that would glow faintly for the rest of his life. She spoke words in the old Mora language, blessing him and welcoming him into the tribe. Stepped forward with a gift, a spear made from living wood that hummed with energy. "Among my people, this is given to warriors who have proven themselves. You earned this when you ran into flames to save our heritage." Gave him a woven sash that changed colors. "This represents knowledge. You taught us about fire, but you also learned about us. True wisdom flows both ways." Who had been exploring the burned areas of forest, presented a small plant growing in ashen-rich soil. "New life from destruction. You showed us this is possible." That night, for the first time, the entire tribe gathered around a large communal fire in the village center. They sat in circles, sharing cooked food and warm drinks. Stories were told, songs were sung. The orange glow of flames mixed with the blue and purple bioluminescence of their traditional lights, creating something beautiful and new. Sat between and watching the scene. Children laughed as they roasted fruits on sticks. Elders debated the best techniques for metalworking. Young couples held hands in the firelight, seeing each other in a new way. "You know what amazes me most," said. "We thought fire was death. We called it the burning death for 10,000 years, but it is not death at all. It is transformation." "All tools are transformative," replied. "Humans learned this long ago. Fire, metal, electricity, computers, they are all just tools. What matters is how we use them and why." Spoke, her voice thoughtful. "I spent my entire life training to protect our people from external threats. I was so focused on dangers from outside that I never saw the real threat was internal. Our fear, our refusal to adapt. You did not save us with fire. You saved us by showing us we could change and still remain ourselves." The weeks that followed were busy. Established a proper fire academy where Mora could learn safely. He taught advanced techniques for metalworking, cooking, and controlled burning. He helped design safety protocols that became Mora law. But he also learned. The Mora taught him about bioengineering, showing him how they could grow living computers and store data in organic matter. They taught him their martial arts, their philosophy, their history. He learned their songs and tried to speak their ancient language. Became his closest friend among the males, teaching him to scout and move silently through the forest. They explored the growing areas where ash-enriched soil was producing remarkable plant growth. The burned sections were recovering faster than anyone had predicted, proving words about fire as renewal. One evening, returned to the clearing where he had first made fire, Ware and her warriors had captured him. The memory felt like it happened to a different person in a different life. He was no longer a crashed pilot trying to survive. He was Flamebringer, adopted member of the Mora tribe. Found him there, thinking about home. "Yes," admitted, "I miss my people, but I will miss you too. You have taught us so much, not just about fire, but about courage, about trying new things even when they seem dangerous, about trusting each other across differences." "And you taught me," said, "that technology is not the only path to civilization, that there are many ways to build a society, that fear can be overcome with curiosity." On his last day, the entire village came to say goodbye. His rescue ship waited in a clearing, its crew amazed by the changes in the Mora settlement. Smoke from cooking fires mixed with bioluminescent mist. Metal tools hung beside grown ones. Human and Mora technology blended into something unique. Embraced him. "You will always have a home here, Flamebringer." Clasped his arm in the warrior's farewell. "You made me question everything I believed. That is the greatest gift a warrior can receive." Was last. She pressed a small living crystal into his hand. "This holds memories of your time here. Our biotechnology preserved them. When you look at it, you will remember us." Boarded his ship, but he paused at the door and looked back. The Mora tribe stood together, fire and bioluminescence lighting their faces. They had survived their greatest fear and emerged stronger. As his ship lifted into the sky, thought about the journey. He had crashed on an alien world expecting only survival. Instead, he had found connection, purpose, and proof that the human spirit was not about dominating others with superior technology. It was about building bridges, sharing knowledge, and proving that even the most terrifying force, when wielded with wisdom and compassion, could bring light instead of darkness. The fire that burns can also warm. The key is in the hands that hold it and the hearts that guide those hands.